For your party overall, now that Trump is in office, we're not seeing the same kind of response that we did in 2017 when he first took office. It seems like Democrats are lost. And tell me if you disagree with that in terms of strategy and what comes next. And, you said that Democrats who attended the inauguration and called Trump a threat to democracy were essentially being hypocritical, because why would they go if that's what they really believed? For the Progressive Caucus and for progressive Democrats and all Democrats.
But also you have to remember, Trump himself did not attend Biden's inauguration.
Yeah.
Even though he was the outgoing president that was supposed to help with that transition. They didn't have the decency to invite the Bidens to the White House. And so just the level of indignity that they'd shown and disrespect to tradition, to me, said no one should show him dignity and respect.
Do you think President Biden handled that wrong? Because, he greeted him, he said, welcome home, he left him a letter. I mean, he followed all of the traditions that typically you see an outgoing president follow.
President Biden has always been a real American, a patriot. And I think the fact that he did not have a peaceful transition and it was challenging for him, wanted to show the American people how to do it and remind them. And I think there were some exceptions of some of the folks that could have been there for that sort of purpose. But to have the mass number of people that showed up that really didn't have a reason to be there.
You think more Democrats should have skipped it?
Yeah, to me, it sent the wrong message.
And what is that message?
That message is that this person that we told you is going to destroy our democracy and is currently in the process of dismantling everything we hold dear. I'm going to sit here and congratulate him and pat him in the back and clap for him. That's not a good message.
Boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I got to tell you guys, the Democrat Party is in free fall. They currently have no leader, no direction, no real ideology outside of wokeness, right? That's the only thing consistent about the Democrat Party. They're woke, okay? But outside of that, they don't have much going on. And it seems to be getting worse because they are allegedly still infighting. There are all types of crazy stories coming out detailing the alleged infighting that is happening amongst the power players in the Democrat Party. I mean, you even have divorce rumors, okay? Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, headed for divorce due to Jennifer Aniston. Now, again, these are extremely wild rumors. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama apparently having some issues with their relationship, which has been the subject of a lot of speculation due to the fact that Michelle mysteriously did not show up for Jimmy Carter's funeral or to Trump's inauguration. Now, I think this can easily be explained by Trump derangement, but who knows? Maybe there are issues. There's trouble in Wonderland, okay? And Barack Obama may be looking to upgrade, right? I'm just saying, maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know. All of this stuff is alleged, okay? You also have rumors that Kamala Harris is infighting with her husband, Doug Pimphan Emhoff, about her election loss, essentially considering him to be dead weight. Again, don't know if these rumors are true at all, but I'm just saying I have more reason to believe some of these rumors due to the fact that we know for sure that Democrats are currently not happy with each other, okay? And we know for certain that a vast majority of the Democrat Party is not happy with Joe Biden. In fact, Joe Biden may be public enemy number one in the Democrat Party at this point.
Just the kind of truth of where we are. In all of it, we know Biden, but actually we know, you and I know him personally. And I think it's fair to say that we're a long time at some level admirers of Joe Biden. And what he's done to himself is no one wants to hear from this guy anymore. Okay, right. Just go to your condo in Rehoboth and stay there. And that's not because we're bad people or we mean people. It was all his doing. All his doing. This entire thing. In this kind of petty back and forth, I would have beat Trump. And no one fucking believes that at all. And then fighting with Joe Biden and Alexander Pelosi. I mean, just look, guy, you had a noble career. Your last act was terrible. Just get out of the way. The party's moving on. I mean, they're really moving on. And it's very sad but that's just where we are. And he created this himself. He has nobody to blame but himself.
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah, so Democrats are moving on from Biden, but they just don't know in what direction are they moving towards, right? Like, where is the Democrat Party going? Right now, they're going south, right? They are tanking. As you have party net favorability polls, okay? Republican Party up +2, okay? So they have a positive net favorability. Democrats -8, right? So Democrats are unfavorable. Okay, the American people have essentially sour on the Democrats. Like I told you guys, it is like a stigma to be a Democrat now, right? Like it's actually one of those things where like you see somebody who voted for Kamala Harris or who is a Democrat, you're like, ew. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like kind of the way you think about it, okay? You automatically kind of side eye, right? And, you know, it is what it is. Trump supporters went through this a few years ago, and then Democrats are going through it. It is just the pendulum swinging the other way in politics, okay? And while Democrats are taking, Trump is soaring. President Trump is now the most popular that he's ever been, ever. Take a look.
Look, the American people really like what they're seeing, at least compared to where Donald Trump started 8 years ago, right? All right, this is Donald Trump's net approval rating. This is Reuters Ipsos. It's among adults. It was taken the first few days of this administration. Look here. Back in January 2017, Donald Trump became the first president in history to start his presidency with a net negative approval rating. Look at where we are now in January 2025. Considerably better at +6 points. That's up 9 points. To borrow a Donald Trump phrase, this is big league. This is a sign that the American people, at least initially, like what they're seeing. And so you see right here, more Americans approve of Donald Trump's job than disapprove. And that is very much unlike what we saw 8 years ago.
So compare the rating now to the entire first term.
Yeah. So it's not just that he's doing better than where he was doing 8 years ago. It's that he's doing better than he ever did during his entire first administration. So I again looked
He never was over +3?
He was never over +3. The highest rating his highest ever net approval rating was +3 in March of...
Your choice of photo is quite
He likes
amazing.
what he's seeing. He's smirking at the American media.
He just doesn't like you.
Maybe not, although he should like these numbers and the way I'm presenting them. You look at January 2025, look at that. Again, you get +6. So Donald Trump isn't just in a better position than he was 8 years ago at this point. He's in a better position than he was at any point during his entire first term. Things have very much turned around. This is a very different Donald Trump. He's leading a very different administration, the way he's attacking things. And the American public is very much more in line with him than they were at any point during his entire first term.
Well, I would say, correction, this is not a very different Donald Trump. This is a very different Donald Trump as being viewed by voters in this
In the
moment
way he's going about things with Susan Wiles leading things. I think he is, going at things in a much less disorganized fashion, much more organized.
Take me back in history.
Take you back in history. So it was so interesting to me that Donald Trump's first net approval rating of his second term is higher than his entire first term. And I was interested, has that ever happened? Has the second term net approval rating in the first month, have you ever had a higher rating than any net approval rating during the entire first term? Donald Trump is the only...
I have a really hard time believing this.
This is 100% true. I went back. I love spreadsheets. Donald Trump's is the first guy ever whose net approval rating in the first month of his second term is higher than any rating that he had in an entire first term, Kate Baldwin. This is true. I don't make stuff up. The numbers are the numbers.
I believe you in nothing except when you have it in the wall. And
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Trump is skyrocketing. And I think one of the things that this CNN analyst pointed out that I think is important to talk about just for a little bit, which is the great job that has been done by Miss Susie Wiles, President Trump's chief of staff. Okay, I think she's the first woman chief of staff. And guess what? The Trump administration didn't spend time bragging about that or talking about that or celebrating that. No. She is just doing her job, and that's it. And she's doing an amazing job. And I think that it is important to recognize the individuals who are within the Trump administration that are doing a good job, okay? And it has nothing to do with her gender, her sex. It just has to do with the fact that she's really damn good at her job, and she got rewarded for it. And that is what meritocracy is about. That's what it's about, right? That's exactly what it's about. But again, the left, they in normal circumstances, they would be praising this. But because it's a Republican, they're not going to praise it. They're not going to really say much about it. Okay, they're going to ignore it, sweep it on the rug. But yet they will heap praise upon incompetent DI hires like Karine Jean-Pierre, who was the worst press secretary in American history, right? I mean, like, it's not even close. I think everybody universally agrees that woman was terrible. So they'll put lipstick on a pig when it comes to that disaster. But when it comes to a woman who actually is breaking the glass ceiling, so to speak, and she's not weaponizing her identity, her sexuality, or who she likes to sleep with, or whether or not she likes her genitalia, when she's not talking about any of those things, okay, when she's not using those things to get ahead in her career, oh, they don't care about that. They will ignore those type of women. The women that move up based off meritocracy and that do it the right way, okay? They don't care about those women. This is why those women never get recognized. Again, remember what Mark Cuban said about so-called MAGA women. The women that Trump surrounds himself with. They're all weak and dumb, according to Mark Cuban, who went on The View and said that Trump has never surrounded himself with strong and intelligent women. This is what he said. So it really shows you how much the left, how much they really don't like women, right? They're not fighting for women's rights or anything like that. No, the only women that Democrats and liberals care about are the women who weren't born women. Because if they actually cared about helping women break the glass ceiling, so to speak, then they would be giving Miss Susie Wiles her flowers, right? That's what they would be doing. So with that being said, we have to get into this clip front of you in which they're going to cope over the fact that the Democrat Party is still infighting. So let's get into it.
In the White House, Republicans control both the House and the Senate. So Democrats aren't just unhappy about this, they're turning on each other. That's right. The Hill reports that Jill Biden is mad at Nancy Pelosi after she called for her husband, Joe, to step down. You remember that? And that Kamala Harris feels dissed by Joe Biden for saying that if he had stayed in, he would have won the presidency. Congress is also butting heads about the best path forward. So how long can they afford to hold a grudge with each other before working on a plan to get power back? I ask you.
I was going to defer to the Democrats, but I'll go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that they need to stop fighting with each other and actually go back to their districts and their states and check in with the people that put them in office. Because the infighting, they all get, I really despise Congress and what their lack of ability to do anything, not to mention the dirty money that circulates there. But they get so obsessed with each other, not just Democrats. Republicans do the same thing. They all play power games, partisan jerseys are put on. They need to go home. They need to go home and check back in and get a reality check of the people they represented and come back with a mission statement that reflects those wants. And then they can be done fighting. Okay.
Yeah, so I think this cackling hen is mostly right. It's just the problem with Democrats going home and getting a reality check is that would require the ability to self-reflect. Democrats don't have the ability to self-reflect, okay? Because if they had the ability to do so, then they would understand that a lot of their positions currently on social issues are unpopular, okay? That's the reality. But they haven't got the message. You still have a ton of Democrats voting against common sense stuff. Like, for example, the Lake and Raleigh Act, okay? A lot of Democrats opposed it in the Senate and the House, okay? In a world filled with common sense, if the Democrat Party actually had common sense, all of them would be voting yes on that type of legislation. Democrats are also the same people who oppose the legislation pushed forth in Congress by the Republicans to protect women's sports, which is also very popular among the American people. And Democrats decided to boo-hoo-wine and throw a fit in the cry transphobia. As long as Democrats are extreme on certain issues, like those issues in which the vast majority of the American people disagree with them, there is no hope for the Democrat Party, right? That's step one. That's step one for the Democrats. They need to abandon far left progressive social issues. They have to abandon that, right? First and foremost.
The reality of the
this moment is kind of incredible. Donald Trump is in power. Republicans control the House and the Senate. And just yesterday, Donald Trump was speaking to leaders at Davos and the World Economic Forum. And world leaders are lining up to meet with him. It's a very different moment in Washington. And I've been struck by how Democrats haven't seemed to get their footing on. They don't have a leader right now. There is not a clear leader.
Well, give them a minute.
I mean, I don't know how much time they're going to have. And then on top of that, there's not a clear plan, strategy, and message. And I think the closest thing to a message of kind of who they're going to go after, other than just Trump is bad, was in Joe Biden's farewell address when he talked about these corporate oligarchs and the tech industrial complex. Smart, thing to identify as the enemy. But oh my goodness, that's why Democrats lost. No one talks like that. No one in the Union Hall talks about the corporate oligarchs and the tech industrial complex. You need to talk like a real human being. And for all
Who
the
do you
criticisms,
think is that person? Who do you give me an idea?
Real quick,
I
for
can
all the
weigh in.
criticisms I have of Donald Trump, he speaks like real people speak. They're taking advantage of you. They're ripping you off.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not
right.
using that kind of language.
He speaks like an annoying person.
I think we do have a leader. I think that leader is Minority Leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries.
Hakeem.
So there is no.
Wow, delusional. Hakeem Jeffries is nothing more than a discounted version of Obama, okay? He's not as intelligent as Obama. He's not as quick as Obama. He has the charisma of a cardboard box, right? That is Hakeem Jeffries, okay? He's a less intelligent Barack Obama with zero charisma whatsoever, okay? And I mean, if you ever listen to this dude speak, he is a robot, right? He does not have any original thoughts of his own. He's very scripted. He's not that guy. He's not that guy at all, right? And the fact that Sunny Halston chose him, it tells you everything you need to know about her political instincts. She doesn't have any whatsoever. She's just, he's black, right? That's what it is. He's a black dude. So she's like, he should be the leader, right? He's going to lead the Democrats. He's not leading the Democrats anywhere. Nobody is going to stand around to listen to Hakeem Jeffries speak, okay? In fact, that's why they chose him as their leader, because nobody actually wants to hear this man speak, right? He has no charisma, so nobody's paying attention to what he's saying, okay? They don't want you paying attention. Democrats have no leader right now, and that's their biggest issue, because a real leader would fill the obvious void of leadership in the Democrat Party. The fact that nobody's doing that right now tells you that they don't have a leader. And this is way different than the Republicans. For example, after January 6th, Trump was always clear that he's still the leader of the Republican Party, right? At no point did he relinquish leadership and control, right? He didn't do that at any point whatsoever, okay? After the 2020 election. Now, if for whatever reason Trump was not able to lead the Republican Party, then likely it would have been Ron DeSantis who took over for Trump. There would not have been any real, I think, fight for leadership or any real questions about who would lead. I know a lot of people probably think, no, it could have been somebody else. I just don't see how it could have been anybody else outside of Ron DeSantis, just looking back at it. But that's what I'm saying. That's the difference. The Democrats don't have a Trump, and they don't have a DeSantis, right? They don't have a clear guy, and they don't have a clear number two guy. They're in a really, really, really bad spot. And Gavin Newsom was supposed to be that guy, but he has mismanaged California so bad. The latest mismanagement, the wildfires, his political career is over, right? In terms of being a national level politician, okay? I don't know, maybe he can become a senator for California, but that's it. He's not going to the White House. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that Gavin Newsom can win a national election. He's done. He's cooked. And he was the best slick talker on the Democrat roster. So I'm just saying that Democrats clearly are lacking leadership. And it's very, very, very telling because they don't have a number one guy. They don't have a new number two guy. Kamala Harris lost the election and she just kind of went away, when her party is in need of leadership, right? Like, I mean, they're basically ceding control of everything to the Republicans right now, right? Especially when you talk about the ideological battle, Democrats are just losing. The pendulum has thoroughly swung the other way. And there's nothing to stop the momentum, right, at all. There's zero Democrat opposition at this point. Their best opposition is the liberal media. The liberal media has no credibility anymore. Nobody watches CNN and MSNBC. So they have nothing. They have absolutely nothing to stop the current train wreck. It's fascinating.
Question that there is a leader. He's from Brooklyn. He speaks with his New York Brooklyn accent. I went to college with him. I know him extremely well. And he talks real talk. And I have a completely different take on this. I think the Democrats are actually falling in line as opposed to fighting with each other. We just saw the Democrats, many Democrats, cross the aisle and work with Republicans on the Laken Riley Act. And that act is basically going to allow undocumented immigrants, to be deported even if they are accused of a crime.
Even if just accused.
Just accused of a crime.
Legal immigrants? No,
undocumented. Undocumented. And I have to say, that's something that most Democrats don't agree with. But they got in line because they know that they need to listen to the American people. They need to pass something that they may not want to pass. And they know that in 18 months, they will take control of the House. And it won't be Minority Speaker Jeffries. It will be Majority Speaker Jeffries.
Yeah, that ain't happening. Yeah, that's not happening. Especially considering how things are currently going. Right? In order for that to happen, Democrats are going to have to find an identity, abandon wokeness, and move back towards the center. But I don't think that's going to happen. They're already showing us they're not willing to do that, right? At all, especially at the local level. That's also something holding back the Democrats as well, too. It's the perception from these far left individuals at the local level, because the local Democrats are more far left than the national Democrats. As long as those cities are run by left-wing lunatics, people can always point to them and say, yes, this is the Democrat Party, right? This is what you're voting for if you vote for Democrats at the national level. So, again, the whole Democrat Party brand is just completely damaged, right? It's broken.
Weigh in on this. So, I don't know how much of this infighting doesn't get exaggerated by the media. Like the Jill Biden, Nancy Pelosi thing, that's real. We saw Jill actually be quoted and interviewed. We've heard from Nancy Pelosi. We've heard from her daughter. That's real. Who cares? Joe Biden's not running again. Joe Biden's, in Delaware. They're not going to be an influence in this. The Kamala Harris versus Joe Biden thing, I have to tell you, I know Kamala Harris very well and her people very well. I haven't heard this bitching and moaning that keeps getting reported. So I don't know what low-level staffer is getting interviewed. That all being said, I would say to Democrats, like whenever I hear of this or read of this, I feel like I want to channel Cher and Moonstruck and just slap them over the face and say, get over it. Because, as I have said ad nauseum, right now, Donald Trump has no guardrails. He's got the Congress, both houses. He's got the White House. He has got a lot of Democrats falling in line, and he's got the Supreme Court in his pocket. The only way there will be guardrails is if Hakeem Jeffries becomes the Speaker of the House in 2 years because they win back the House or they win back
But how
the
much
Senate.
damage is this guy going to do?
Yeah, so you're seeing that, you heard that, okay? We're not going to get into more of the arrangement because I don't want the video to be too long. You guys get the gist of what's being said here. And Navarro believes that these rumors are exaggerated. But hey, it seems pretty obvious to me that there are a lot of infighting going on amongst the Democrats. But, keep in mind, Ann Navarro is the same person that told us that Joe Biden being mentally unwell was just a conspiracy theory, right? Doesn't exist. So, again, her word has no credibility. If she says that she doesn't see all the infighting, right? If she claims that's not happening, then it's definitely happening. So, the problem with these people is that they think they need to put guardrails on Trump. That's not what they need to be thinking about. What they need to be thinking about is how do we clearly show that we are aligned with Trump on core issues that the American people agree with, right? That is the key for the Democrats. And they have utterly failed at doing so thus far when it comes to wokeness, okay, and illegal immigration. Two things that Democrats try to push back against Trump. And hey, ultimately, as long as they continue to push back on those main issues, they're not going to be able to find a footing, right? They're just not going to be able to recover because those are the two most important issues. But you have a lot of far left woke revolutionaries that are influential on the Democrat Party. And I think ultimately, as long as Democrats continue to be in bed with those people, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to be an issue. The Democrats have to divorce themselves from the far left. They just have to. Unless they can do that, they're not going to win any more elections. It's going to be probably a decade of a golden age of Trumpism, Trump-type, Trump-led leadership in this country. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.